Come on in. Welcome to Idle Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about every single quit in Survivor history. From the justified to the annoying to the downright bizarre, quitting has long been an extremely controversial part of the game. It's no secret that quitters are often despised by fans. These are people who were given the ultimate opportunity, then just threw in the towel. I think the philosophy on quitting has softened over time, but there's no question that some of these quits are just downright frustrating. I mean, if Chet can make it to day 17, surely you can too. Still, the variety of players who quit and their justification for doing so is a really interesting part of Survivor lore, and some of these quits have become iconic in their own right. So grab some trail mix, run away from Pelican Pete, and try not to chop off your fingers as we take a look at every quitter in Survivor history. For 6 long seasons, no one quit Survivor. That all changed in Survivor Pearl Islands when Osten quit the game on day 19. In the power structure of the Flailing Morgan tribe, a series of unfortunate Pelican-related events led to Osten's late pre-merge quit. On day 1, the tribes were able to go to a Panamanian village and bargain with locals to earn much-needed supplies. Osten took this task a little too seriously and sold off all of his clothing, except his underwear. Osten quickly learned that Survivor wasn't really for him. He wasn't big on the whole outdoors thing, he wasn't very good at swimming, he was tired and hangry, and by day 6 he was asking the tribe to send him home, a wish which went unfulfilled not once, but twice. You see, OT was a crucial vote for tribe leaders Savage and Rhino, which also sounds like a trio of second-tier TMNT villains. Somewhere along the way, a Pelican also began harassing Osten. Now, I don't know what it was about Osten that made him such a sweet target for Pelican Pete, but Pelican Pete was obsessed with Osten. He would stand near Osten. He would sit near Osten. One time he actually flapped his wings at Osten. This made Osten shit his pants in fear, which was bad because he only had the one pair. On day 19, right before the merge, Osten pleaded again with his tribe to vote him out. This time, Jeff had heard enough. A visibly angry Probst told Osten that if he wants to go, he can go, and snuffed Osten's torch with the authority of a disappointed dad. As the first quit, Survivor made an example out of Osten, branding him with the scarlet letter at every turn. In a sign of disrespect, Jeff laid down his torch after the snuff. Osten's final words weren't aired, and he was omitted from the Rites of Passage segment in the finale. Now, in post-season interviews, Osten claims he was treated for 6 staph infections after the show, which I have no reason to doubt. So in hindsight, Osten's quit was probably pretty justified, even if he sorta brought it on himself by selling all of his clothes off an hour into the game. In a Season 25 era interview, Jeff expressed some regret over the lashing Osten took for his quit. If Osten was on Season 19 and quit, no big deal. But because he was the first one and a big muscular guy to boot, he got the brunt of the quit shaming. Regardless, Survivor officially had their first quit 7 seasons in. The floodgates were open. The very next season, Survivor All-Stars saw 2 Survivor players voluntarily leave the game. On day 9, Jenna Maraska left the game to be with her ill mother, who was at home with cancer and who passed away 8 days after Jenna got home. Obviously, Jenna came to regret her decision to leave her ill mother to play Survivor, and just felt the need to go home, an instinct which proved correct. Some of the players stick up for her, like Boston Rob and Amber, but others, like Alicia and Big Tom, are both weirdly critical of her. Glad Boston Rob made both of you look like fools later in the season. Later on day 17, Sue left the game after stewing over an incident that took place during the episode 5 immunity challenge, in which a nude Richard Hatch rubbed himself on her in a challenge designed to put players in close proximity. After thinking about this for a day, an emotional, frustrated, and clearly distraught Sue left the game. Some of the players are really empathetic towards Sue, others less empathetic.
I don't like her for it, I'm sorry. I know she went through a lot. Still, you gotta learn how to contain your emotions.
Anyway, I'm sure we can all agree that Jenna and Sue's quits were both entirely justified. In Survivor Palau, we had our 4th quit in as many seasons when Janu laid down her torch so that Stephanie could continue in the game. While a fairly unremarkable quit on its own, this is one of the most important quits in Survivor history because of the precedent it set. This was the first quit to happen at the jury stage of the game. Janu left the game on day 27 so that Stephanie, the last remaining member of Oolong, which had been completely decimated pre-merge, could continue on, but only after ensuring that she could serve on the jury if she laid her torch down. Jeff and the producers obviously wanted Janu to quit. Stephanie was a huge character, Janu was not. So when Janu gift-wrapped them Stephanie getting 3 extra days in the game, they gave her what she wanted, a seat on the jury bench. But they'd really come to regret this decision later on. Really. We didn't get another quit until Gary left the game in Survivor Fiji. Gary, aka Papa Smurf, aka the only person who actually applied this entire season, ended up feeling dizzy and tired and asked medical to come check him out. They said he was fine to continue in the game, but Gary ended up pulling himself on day 10 anyway. Gary strongly speculates that he was having an allergic reaction to fire ant bites, leading to his loss of breath and general nausea. At least he got some cooling. 2 seasons later, another Survivor superfan left the game. Kathy in Survivor Micronesia. This is another one that is medevac adjacent. Before going on Survivor, Kathy had been on Zoloft for many years. She quit cold turkey before going on the island and didn't inform production, fearing she'd be pulled from the cast. The combination of suddenly going off her medication, regular trips to exile, and living with Jason Siska had a severe impact on her mental health. And at one point, she threatened to take the machete and chop off her fingers to get medically pulled from the game. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. Kathy was able to leave the game on day 19, fingers intact. Now that this was just understood as a thing that happens every few seasons, Jeff had seriously softened his opinion on quitters, especially medical quits like this. Gary and Kathy were both treated with empathy and dignity. A far cry from the abject disgust Osten's voluntary departure was given. This was a kinder, gentler Jeff, for the time being. His least favorite quit of all time was right on the horizon, and the kid gloves were gonna come off, like fingers under a machete. 5 seasons later in Survivor Nicaragua, we had what is inarguably Survivor's most notorious quit ever, the 2-for-1 deal of NaOnka and Purple Kelly on day 28. This is the angriest Jeff has ever been on the show. He can barely contain his rage. He's like, we're following up Heroes vs. Villains with this?
You're this close to being able to say, I did it. And you're this close to being one of those others, the quitters, that nobody remembers. Think about it.
These two were 11 days shy of a finale they both were likely to be sitting at. So, why did they quit? Exhibit A. This season took place during a brutal, rainy season, and Purple Kelly in particular had little in the way of clothes. Just a pink bikini, yellow dress, and those iconic purple streaks. That's it! She was seriously supposed to make it through 39 days of Nicaraguan rain with a sundress and a prayer. The weather was so brutal that Fabio lent out his jacket to her on basically a permanent basis. NaOnka, well, she had more clothes, and the weather sucked for her too, but it sucked for everyone. These two announced their game departure after the episode 12 reward challenge, which NaOnka's team won. After Jeff stops fuming that not one but two players want to leave the game less than 2 weeks from the ending, Jeff tells them they can decide at Tribal Council if they want to quit so that they don't make an impulsive decision. In the meantime, he announces a little twist on this reward. The tribe can have extra food and supplies if one player on the winning reward team will forego the upcoming reward, which is a visit to a movie theater to see the latest Jack Black crap-a-rama. In what is objectively the most selfish move in Survivor history, and also objectively the most hilarious, NaOnka opts not to give up her spot on the reward, despite her intention to leave the game in less than 12 hours. I don't know. Maybe she's just a really big Jonathan Swift fan and wanted to see Gulliver's Travels. At Tribal Council that night, despite Jeff and their fellow castmates trying to talk them out of it, NaOnka and Purple Kelly left the game, one after the other. It's long been speculated that their edits were retroactive punishment for their twin quits. NaOnka given an extremely negative edit, maybe the most negative in history up to that point. And Purple Kelly was given a historic lack of screen time. They went out of their way to hide her, gave her 5 confessionals across 12 episodes, 4 of which were in the quit episode, and just made her look like a complete idiot every time she opened her mouth.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. You get to milk your own milk, and that sounds amazing.
Well, these two were able to milk their own milk on the jury bench, thanks to Janu. With the precedent that quitters get to serve on the jury, these two were off to Ponderosa, where they were undoubtedly well received. The next quit came in Survivor Philippines when Dana left the game on day 12. This is another Papa Smurf style quit. Dana was experiencing extreme stomach cramps and nausea, likely due to dehydration. Medical cleared her to continue in the game, but she instead opted to leave. She was clearly miserable and also wasn't exactly popping off the screen, so this is fine. Speaking of popping off the screen, who put her and Carter on the same tribe? 2 seasons later, we get the most irritating quit of all time. Colton in Survivor, Blood vs. Water. Colton, Survivor's little Joffrey Baratheon, previously played in Survivor One World, where he made racist and ableist remarks and bullied everyone, right up until his medical evacuation. Somehow he got a second chance 3 seasons later, despite all of that. To quote Tyson, he tried to change for like a day, but Colton's iron grip, bully tactic style of gameplay might work on a tribe of Leafs, Tarzans, and Bills. It does not work on a tribe of Survivor veterans. The second Colton realized his game was sinking and he was almost certainly the first boot from his tribe, he rage quit on day 7, like a child flipping a Monopoly board. Jeff is again furious. We know that he fought in casting against giving Colton a second shot, and he is frustratingly vindicated right here. With this quit and his earlier medevac, Colton joins the exclusive club of 2-time players who've never been voted off, frustratingly making Colton a statistical GOAT. Speaking of rage quits, the very next season saw perhaps the weirdest quit in Survivor history, Lindsey in Survivor Cagayan. On the OG Braun tribe, Lindsey was pretty firmly in control of the tribe with Cliff and Woo, but after a tribe switch gave Tony and Trish the numbers to take out Cliff, Lindsey just quits the game later that night, fearing that she was going to come to blows with Trish, whom she hated and largely blamed for Cliff's ouster. I've never seen such a reactionary response to the game not going your way. Most survivors swallow their pride and congratulate the others on a well-played blindside. Some get angry and lash out, but only Lindsey has been so mad she literally left the game so she didn't catch an assault charge. Continuing our late 20s quit renaissance, the next season, Survivor San Juan del Sur had another quit. Have you ever loved someone so much you couldn't be apart from them for more than a few days? And has that person ever been John Rocker? Julie played Survivor with her boyfriend, John Rocker, a controversial MLB player known more for his big mouth than his skills on the baseball diamond. Obvious recruit in an era that was largely moving beyond such casting stunts, I expected this boyfriend and girlfriend duo to both suck at Survivor and get voted out quickly. That was the case for Rocker, but Julie was a surprisingly competent Survivor player. When she made the merge, she realized she only had one round left to get voted out pre-jury, and she was really missing Rocker for some reason. Combine that with the tribe discovering she stole some trail mix from the merge feast to eat later, which obviously upset them, and Julie decided to bounce on day 18 before the jury started so that she could go on vacation with her boyfriend. Jeff's long stated that they take responsibility for this one. They knew Julie wasn't really cut out for the game, didn't really want to be there, and they even clocked preseason that there was a decent chance she would quit, and they put her on anyway. Which is why he's so understanding when she's explaining her quit to him. Her voluntary departure from the game was more predictable than John Rocker making an edgy comment. For 8 seasons after that, we didn't have any quits to speak of, but we got another one in Survivor David vs. Goliath, when B bowed out of the game on day 10. B was a powerhouse physical player for the underdog David tribe, and as such was put in a lot of the clinch positions in challenges. During a previous immunity challenge, she injured her knee, and on day 10, she left, not out of any sort of debilitating pain, but because, as an MMA fighter, she kinda, needs that knee. And so, fearing further injury could destroy her fighting career, B understandably buzzed off. While we're here, I have to talk about the Edge of Extinction Sail Raises, because I know they will be brought up. I personally don't consider Keith, Wendy, and Sandra quitters for raising the Edge of Extinction sail, but I understand the argument. All 3 of these players opted to raise the sail and leave the game, rather than continuing to live on the edge of extinction after being voted out, foregoing their shot to re-enter the game in a physical challenge and to serve on the jury. I don't really consider this quitting. The Edge is a brutal game mechanic designed to push you to the limit. And let's be real, were any of these 3 going to win a physical challenge to get back in the game? Still, you can choose to add them to the quit tally if you'd like. Me, I do not. Why? Cope. I just cannot consider Sandra a quitter. Our most recent quit at the time of this video is Matthew in Survivor 44. On day 2, this guy decided to climb a giant rock off the coast of the Ratu beach. Spider-Man he is not. Matthew slipped and dislocated his shoulder in the fall. Initially cleared by medical to continue with a sling and the warning that he should probably take it easy on that shoulder, Matthew instead insisted on putting himself in the season's physical challenges, despite Ratu's numerical advantage, which gave them the luxury of benching players. On day 11, his arm was unsurprisingly not in great shape, and medical put the ball in his court. Matthew opted to leave the game. Of any quits, this is the biggest what if to me. Matthew was a strong player with good reads at the center of a tribe that would have had a 5-person majority at the merge if he stayed. Would he have gone after the Tika 3? Would he have led Ratu to victory? Would Jamie ever learn her idol was fake? We may never know. There we have it. All of the people who voluntarily laid down their torch in Survivor history, from understandable bow-outs to injuries to bizarro rage quits and everything in between. They left with idols, they left with tears, and occasionally they even left with their dignity. Justified or not, these players will live in infamy, branded as the people who got cast on a show people would kill to play on, only to instead voluntarily leave instead of getting voted out. As far as I'm concerned, I think plenty of these are understandable. The All-Stars quits, Kathy, Purple Kelly, B, Osten, I get it. But others, must be a pretty bad tummy ache. Regardless, quitters are a unique and controversial part of Survivor history, with some arguing that very few quits are justified, and others arguing that this is on production for casting someone unprepared for the harsh reality of life on Survivor. Wherever you stand, it's nice that quits have gotten much rarer in recent years. I don't think most modern Survivor players would pull themselves out of the game for anything. least of all, John Rocker. Got nothing else for ya. Don't you dare quit on me. Like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.